Did Jeremy Clarkson go too far with his car collection? One car reminds him of his dead grandfather. One car broke his heart so badly he cried on television. One car he lost and compared it to losing a member of his family. Jeremy Clarkson does not collect cars. He collects memories. 30 of them, worth millions. And every single one has a story that will blow your mind. (1969) Ford Cortina Mk2 1600E. Every obsession has a beginning. For Jeremy Clarkson, it was this little British box on wheels, a 1.6-liter four-cylinder engine, 80 horsepower. That is weaker than a modern dishwasher. But in 1977, this car was everything: freedom, speed, independence, the smell of petrol and possibility. Clarkson was just a skinny teenager with ridiculous hair when he climbed into this thing for the first time, and something clicked inside his brain. Something permanent. Something dangerous. This was not just a car. This was the first hit of a lifelong addiction that would cost him millions of pounds and decades of sleep. And get this. He took his driving test in his grandfather's Bentley R-Type. He was so ridiculously confident he would pass that, he brought scissors to slice off the learner plates in the parking lot before the examiner even handed him the certificate. No fear, no backup plan, pure Clarkson energy from day one. 2005 Ford GT. This is the car that almost broke Jeremy Clarkson forever. He worshipped the original Ford GT40, those gorgeous blue rockets that humiliated Ferrari at Le Mans in the 1960s. So when Ford built a modern version, Clarkson moved heaven and earth to get one. He pulled every contact, begged every PR executive. Only 28 were coming to the UK, and he clawed his way onto that list. A 5.4-liter supercharged V8, 550 horsepower, 678 Newton-meters of torque, midnight blue paint with white racing stripes, BBS wheels catching the light. This car was a cathedral of speed. And then it fell apart. Day one, the alarm screamed for no reason. The engine immobilizer failed. He could not finish a single journey without something dying. Every drive was a coin flip between joy and roadside rescue. He called it the most unreliable car ever made. After the most miserable month of motoring in his life, he demanded a full refund from Ford. They gave him one. Then this lunatic bought it back. Same car, same gremlins. He asked Top Gear fans online what he should do. They said give it another chance. He did. It broke again, and again, and again. He finally surrendered, sold the GT, replaced it with a Lamborghini. The Ford later resurfaced with 24,000 miles and upgraded KW suspension. Someone braver than Clarkson bought this broken dream. He swore that one day he would never own another supercar, and he almost kept that promise. 2007 Lamborghini Gallardo LP560 Spider. After the Ford GT ripped his heart out, Clarkson went Italian, but not quietly. James May literally dared him to buy a Lamborghini in the most ridiculous spec possible. So, Clarkson ordered a gray Gallardo with screaming orange leather seats, because friendship means enabling bad decisions. A 5.2-liter V10, 560 horsepower, 0 to 60 in under 4 seconds. But the noise was the real weapon. Clarkson said driving it felt like sitting on the nose of a giant, snarling, power-crazed animal. That V10 howl could wake up an entire village and make every neighbor simultaneously furious and jealous. While he was thrashing the Gallardo around English country roads, he also had a Mercedes SL55 AMG and an SLK 55 sitting at home. 3 wildly fast cars at the same time. That is not collecting. That is a clinical condition. He eventually sold the Gallardo for around $145,000. Even a Lamborghini bought on a dare could not hold his attention forever. The man gets bored of supercars the way normal people get bored of television shows. Ferrari F355 GTS. This story is completely insane. Clarkson owned a Ferrari F355 GTS, a 3.5-liter V8 screaming 375 horsepower through a gorgeous Targa body. Classic Ferrari red. One of the prettiest machines Maranello ever created. But he wanted green. Ferrari said no. You do not tell Ferrari what color you want. Ferrari tells you. Then everywhere he drove, cops tailed him. People swarmed like pigeons around bread. Strangers wanted photos at every petrol station. He could not park without returning to a small crowd pressed against the glass. For most people, that sounds incredible. For Clarkson, it was suffocating. So he gave it away. In a newspaper competition, a random reader won a Ferrari F355 for the price of a morning paper. No entry fee, no raffle, just dumb beautiful luck. That car later went to auction at R.M. Sotheby's. It did not sell. Someone won Clarkson's Ferrari for absolutely free and could not even move it at auction. The universe has a truly wicked sense of humor. Alfa Romeo GTV6. If Clarkson's collection had a heartbeat, this car would be it. He has owned two GTV6s. The first one he sold years ago and compared the loss to losing a beloved dog. When the red GT46 from the Grand Tour Scotland episode came available, he grabbed it instantly. A 2.5-liter Busso V6, 148 horsepower. Slow by every measurable standard. But that engine sound is the closest thing to music any car has ever produced. Only 22,000 were ever built. Clarkson once said, "You are not a real car enthusiast until you have owned an Alfa Romeo. It will shatter your heart, but it will do it beautifully." Volvo XC90. Nobody saw this coming. The man who drove Bugatti Veyrons for breakfast has owned 4 Volvo XC90s. 4! He calls it the most underrated vehicle ever made. He loves safety. He loves the silence. He loves that it starts every single morning without a single drama. No warning lights. No mysterious rattles. No alarms screaming at 3 in the morning. Just a big, safe Swedish box that does exactly what you ask every single time. He once said he first saw an XC90 at Donington Park Racetrack. As a father of 3 young children, he knew immediately he had to have one. Then a second. Then a third. Then a fourth. After decades of supercars betraying him, this boring Swedish family SUV became his sanctuary. And honestly, that is the most relatable thing Clarkson has ever done. 2007 Range Rover Vogue SE. His everyday car. A 3.6-liter diesel V8 with over 85,000 hard miles on the clock. Muddy. Scratched. Probably smells like sheep. It shows up in almost every episode of Clarkson's Farm, bouncing through fields and reversing into things. He has publicly declared that any Range Rover is the greatest SUV ever manufactured by anyone anywhere on this planet. Period. Full stop. End of conversation. If you disagree, he does not think you have a different opinion. He thinks you are factually, completely, and utterly wrong. 2020 Bentley Flying Spur. This is the crown jewel. A W12 engine producing 626 horsepower and 664 pound-feet of torque. 0 to 60 in 3.7 seconds. Top speed 207 miles per hour. A 2.5-ton luxury missile wrapped in quilted leather that smells like generational wealth. But the reason he bought it punches you right in the chest. His grandfather always drove Bentleys. Every time the old man bought a new one, he would say the same words. "This car will see me out." His grandfather lived a very long time, so he had to repeat that promise several times over. Clarkson bought the Flying Spur and said those exact same words. "This one will see me out." That is not a car purchase. That is a man honoring his family legacy with 12 cylinders and 207 miles per hour. The only irritation: Prince Andrew owns the same car. Clarkson was deeply annoyed by this discovery. Aston Martin Virage. A 6.0-liter engine, 490 horsepower, top speed 186 miles per hour, 570 newton meters of torque shoved through the rear wheels. Pure British muscle wrapped in a perfectly tailored tuxedo. This grand tourer sat in his garage like a sleeping panther. Beautiful, powerful, quietly terrifying. The kind of car James Bond would drive if James Bond was angrier. Mercedes SLS AMG Roadster. He once described this car as a machine that attacks every single one of your senses at the same time. Not a Ferrari. Not elegant. A full-blooded American-style muscle car wearing a German badge. Raw, loud, unapologetic. Those iconic gull-wing doors opened upward like a bird stretching its wings. His reviews were so passionate that auction houses literally used his quotes to sell them. One 2014 SLS AMG Black Series sold for over $400,000 because of what Clarkson said about it. Mercedes SL55 AMG. A 5.4-liter supercharged V8 pushing 493 horsepower. This was his weapon of choice during the peak Top Gear years. Fast enough to scare passengers, comfortable enough to drive to the shops. The perfect blend of violence and civility. Mercedes SLK 55 AMG. While everyone focused on his Lamborghini, this little AMG Roadster sat quietly in his driveway. Compact, quick, brutally underestimated, a proper sleeper that most people never even knew he owned. Mercedes CLK Black Series. After selling the Gallardo, he jumped straight into this. The CLK Black Series was Mercedes at its most aggressive. Wide body, stripped out, track-focused, a monster hiding behind a two-door coupe silhouette. Ford Escort RS Cosworth. One of the most iconic fast Fords ever built. That massive whale-tail spoiler. Turbocharged Fury under the bonnet. This car dominated rally stages across the entire world in the 1990s, and Clarkson parked one in his garage like it was a family hatchback. Most owners would wrap it in cotton wool. Clarkson probably drove it to get milk. BMW 3.0 CSL. This is the one that haunts him at night. He owned a BMW 3.0 CSL years ago and sold it for a few £1,000s. Throwaway money, loose change. Today, that same car is worth well over $500,000. Some pristine examples have crossed the $700,000 mark at auction. He has publicly called this the biggest regret of his entire car collecting life. Imagine watching something you sold for pocket money slowly become worth more than a house. That kind of pain does not heal. It just sits there forever. Jaguar, XJ6, and XJR. Clarkson is a Jaguar fanatic. He has owned several, including the gorgeous XJ6 and a 1999 XJR with a supercharged V8. He gets visibly giddy every time he slides behind the wheel of any Jaguar. Some relationships just never end. Jaguar E-Type Lightweight. A modern recreation of the legendary 1963 original. Only 12 were ever made on this entire planet. Clarkson owns one. He had the interior completely retrimmed using Bentley leather and Aston Martin carpets. This is obsessive attention to detail on a car that most people will never even see in real life. Lamborghini Miura. Widely considered the most beautiful car ever designed by human hands. Having a Miura in your collection is not car ownership, it is art ownership. This is the automotive equivalent of hanging up a Picasso in your living room. Toyota Land Cruiser. He drove this legendary 4x4 across Africa during a Top Gear special. Deserts, rivers, roads that did not exist. The Land Cruiser survived everything. He nicknamed it the Invincible and absolutely refused to return it after filming wrapped. It earned its place in his garage through sheer toughness. Volkswagen Golf GTI. When the massive VW emissions scandal erupted and the whole world turned against Volkswagen, Clarkson publicly announced he still loved his Golf GTI. Zero shame, zero apology. The Golf was not even part of the scandal, but Clarkson did not care about the details. He loved the car, and that was that. Honda CRX and BMW Z1. Not everything in Clarkson's garage is expensive or famous. The Honda CRX is a tiny pocket rocket from the 1980s. The BMW Z1 has doors that slide downward into the body. Both are weird. Both are wonderful. Both prove that Clarkson collects personality, not just horsepower. Lotus Elise 111S. Colin Chapman built Lotus around one philosophy: simplify, then add lightness. The Elise 111S is that philosophy perfected. Tiny, nimble, alive in every corner. The kind of car that makes you forget about straight-line speed entirely. Bentley Continental GT V8. Not content with a standard Bentley, Clarkson modified his Continental GT to his own specifications. Because when you have spent your entire life telling car manufacturers how to build better cars, eventually you just do it yourself. Volkswagen Scirocco. He owned 2 generations of the Scirocco. These stylish German coupes were never the fastest, but they had character. Real character. The kind of car you remember fondly 20 years later. Jaguar F-Type. Another Jaguar, because one is never enough for Clarkson. The F-Type brought Jaguar roaring back into the sports car conversation, and Clarkson was right there cheering from behind the wheel. Lamborghini R8 270 DCR Tractor. And finally, the most famous tractor in Britain, the undisputed star of Clarkson's farm on Amazon Prime. He bought it because it said Lamborghini on the side. That is it. That is the entire reason. No research, no comparison shopping. He saw the badge and pulled out his wallet. People now drive hundreds of miles to his Cotswolds farm just to photograph this tractor. A Lamborghini that plows fields instead of breaking lap records. Only Clarkson could turn a piece of farming equipment into a national celebrity. And maybe that is the whole point of this collection. It's not about horsepower or price tags. Every car in this garage tells a chapter of one man's wild, ridiculous, beautiful life. From a tiny Cortina to a roaring tractor. From heartbreak to heritage. 30 cars, 30 stories, and not a single boring one in the bunch. If this blew your mind, smash that like button and subscribe for more insane car collections. Drop a comment below. Which Clarkson car is your favorite? See you in the next one.